Hello and welcome to Undrafted, a Dynasty Game Theory podcast brought to you by OTC Fantasy. I am your host, Scott Belanger, a.k.a. Jax Falcone. You can find me on Twitter at Dino Game Theory. This is episode number 241. Let's roll. And I am so sorry, people. I am so sorry. I just neglect you for weeks at a time. Weeks at a time, I tell you. I am so sorry. I know you guys love this. I miss the show myself. I miss it. I haven't been talking to enough people. I haven't been doing enough in these streets. I have been checking out these prospects. Maybe it's just because there's not enough good prospects. I don't want to talk about them anymore. I'm broken. No, there's still value to be had. There's still value to be had, and we're going to find it tonight. I've got a great show for you tonight. I'm joined by my friend and partner here at OTC, the doctor, the linebacker, the Pittsburgh guy, Mr. Marcus Galie joins me today. Marcus, welcome back to the show.
Yeah, it's always great to be here. Thank you again, Jax, for bringing me on. I just want to say I'm super excited and grateful for the opportunity. Just seeing the last two guests you had on, Scott Connor and John Love, super awesome, well-respected guys in the space. So to share a platform, not only with yourself, but also them, I feel super humbled. But hopefully, just with my background as a former player, a current coach, I can bring a little new perspective on this draft class, not as much analytics based and more kind of just what I see in the hours upon hours of football that I watch. So I'm excited. I think we'll have a good duo here.
That's
today.
Why you're here, and I've said it, even like you think about the difference between John Lobb and Scott Connor, Scott doesn't even want to talk about any players. I can ask him about players, like, I don't really know. And John is just like impassioned player analysis and takes and the whole thing. So yeah, each person that comes on the show is going to be different. I think you bring, well, first of all, you're doing a lot of work for the draft guide, I guess. Look, I've been saying our website is a draft guide. That's what it's going to be. Like what we're putting together and what we're starting to work on, and what we're not there yet, because of course we started at a pretty tough time to start, for prospects, but we're coming together on that side. But what we are a draft guide annually, like all the time. That's all we are. We're prospect analysis, dynasty game theory analysis. That's what we do. And, you're doing a lot of the write-ups in terms of the utility of these players. And I think that's really the next step for me to take for myself and with the listeners, is to start talking about these players in a little bit of a different light. We'll come back to some of the analytics, and I'm sure I'll be chirping about analytics because I really haven't done much film work yet. My process sort of goes backwards. So I do all the analytics up front, and then I'm going to watch film later. Some of these players, I really don't need to watch very much. Mekhi Lemon, yes, show me a few highlights. He's awesome. I'm good. Next, move on. Jeremiyah Love, right. What am I going to masturbate while I watch it? I mean, I'm good. I know he's good. Let's just move on, right? So it's like, ultimately at the end of the day, I'm looking to watch for value. So I'm not there yet because the value isn't there, but you're watching for enjoyment. And you're adding that value from the film and from understanding these players. And I really can't wait to sort of dive in. So yeah, thanks for doing that. And I'm excited.
Yeah. So I don't know, there's so many people to talk about, I'll let you lead the way. It seems like this is a wide receiver heavy class, which, I mean, by this point in the year, most of us know, it is widely talked about as a poor running back class and an intriguing tight end class. So I think that's going to make for some good conversation. I'll be interested to see kind of where our mindsets align on a few of these controversial players for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I love Dwayne McFarland. I'm chasing him to get him on the show because he's so freaking awesome and he knows I love him. But Dwayne has his supermodel, and I like his supermodel because it's very similar to the way I think, because I kind of, by hearing him talk, I know that he's using a lot of the same inputs that I've used in either the anatomy or our wide receiver model or our evaluation analytically that I use for myself and with Joe and others on the team. So I already know that it's very similar in some ways. and he's very, very smart and very good at modeling. So therefore, I
Mhm.
really like what he's done. And one of the things that he's pointed out is, and I think I might have shared this with you pre-show, but one of the things that he's pointed out, and others, by the way, is that while there are fewer sort of A-list, if you will, if you want to give them a 90 score, 80 score, and a 70 score, A, B, and C players, so those are the good players. There's more sort of BC players than there are A players. But there are more more B or C players in this draft than there have been in other drafts, especially at tight end
Mhm.
and wide receiver. Not at quarterback and running back. So it's kind of interesting just to sort of know that going in, because that's what I think what we're starting to see in terms of running back. I think we're going to start there. I think a lot of times people are looking for us to, anybody tell who's good, who's not good, right? And I think with wide receiver, you can kind of do that a little bit. There's obviously a little bit of utility that you want to understand at wide receiver. Are they an X? Are they a slot? Et cetera, et cetera.
Mhm.
But at the running back position, I think any shitty running back can be useful if they get the opportunity, is my point, right? So I can say a running back is god awful, terrible running back, bad prospect, don't bet on him. But if the two running backs in front of him get hurt and he plays, yeah, I'll play him. I'll put him in my lineup. You know what I mean? Whereas
Right.
that's not always true about a wide receiver who is thrust into action because of injury.
Yeah, and the quote that you also shared pre-show, like targets are earned, carries are given.
Yes.
Uh, if you're a terrible running back, but like you said, the two players in front of you are hurt, the quarterback just has to turn around and hand you the ball for you
Yes.
to get volume.
Yes.
If you're a terrible wide receiver, on the other hand, you're never going to be open, so you're never going to get the ball
That's
thrown
right.
to you. So
Yeah.
I think that's why, like, the landing spot, like, you
Yes.
might not love one of these running backs as a prospect. You might not even think they're a good player, but let's say they go to, who's a running back needy team off the top of my head? Let's just say Minnesota. They have Jordan Mason,
Yeah.
who's okay. Aaron Jones, who they brought back.
Yep.
One of those two dudes goes down, and boom, this player is thrust into 12 to 17 touches a game. They automatically have value, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. No matter how good or bad we think they are, or they actually are. Um, yes, good players more likely to carve out a role, and I think we'll talk about that. Like, a lot of times people say, "Well, Jeremiyah Love, if he lands there, I'm not sure because he'll split with Scatabo." It's like, no, he won't. I think Scatabo's
No.
great. He eliminates whomever is in front of him
Yeah.
eventually. Sometimes it does start off a little bit funny. I tell the story of Nick Chubb. I tell the story of Jonathan Taylor. These guys don't always just come in and immediately earn 20 plus carries. That's not how it works
Mhm.
necessarily in the NFL, but eventually they become the alpha predator because that's who they are. And Jeremiyah Love is that type of player. I would say that he's the only one in this class that is even close to that. Do you agree, or is there anybody else in the class at running back knocking on that door?
No, not to his level.
Yeah.
And he is spoken to, and rightfully so, as the level of coming out of college, like a Genty, a Barkley, and a Gibbs. And that's because he is.
Right.
He's 6 foot tall, 212 pounds, has legit track speed. He
Yeah.
runs a sub 4.4, and it
Yes.
shows
Yes.
on games. And let me say this about 40s just real quick.
Yeah.
So he ran a sub 4.4 at the combine, whatever. There's You can train to specifically run a good 40
Yeah.
time. For example, like, you see people every year show up at the combine and they run some crazy time. You're like, what the hell? Like, Matthew Golden
Yeah.
comes to mind running his 4.29. You're like, a 4.29? Like, you watch any of the Texas games, you're like, he doesn't run a 4.29,
Right.
because you can train specifically for a 40. What you can't necessarily train for is, does your speed show up on tape? Like, are you running away from guys in the open field? And he absolutely has that. And then what he also has is a rare combination of, I like to call it, just like the three things a running back can have. Can they run away from you, so long speed? Can they run around you, like lateral quickness? And then can they run through you or over you, running with power and after contact?
Yeah.
He has all three, and he can catch the ball.
Mm.
So, like, that automatically
Yeah.
just makes him like head and shoulders
Yeah, he's
above
so
the rest of
special.
the
He's so
field.
special. That's so
Mhm.
that's so true about the speed thing. Like, yeah, I don't know how to even explain it. Like, one of the players that ran a, like, there's a lot of players that run surprising 40s. Certainly for me,
Right.
Kamani Vidal. I love Kamani. Like, I loved him. I loved his film.
Right.
Like, I got so excited. Everybody knows, of course, that I loved Kamani. But when he ran, I remember he ran like a 4.4 something.
He ran a dumb fast time.
I was like,
Yeah, I was like,
what?
"What?"
I was
Yeah,
like,
right.
I was hoping he'd run under 4.6, and he ran like 4.4. So I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know you had that kind of game. But and he doesn't, right? Because he didn't run away from people at the NFL level. So it's the tape don't lie when it comes to things like that. And yeah, you're right. You can
Mhm,
specifically train for that. If a guy's fast, he's fast. I mean, if he's slow, he's slow. But sometimes, and of course, the difference between a 4.29 and a 4.39. I don't mean to be stupid, but it's 0.1 second. It's just fast. It's like, so yeah, it's a little bit,
right.
it's not arbitrary, but it's, we're splitting hairs literally.
It really only matters if you're at one or of the two
Yes.
like extreme ends of the
Yeah.
spectrum. And the other thing about 40 times with people, I don't know why, get so hung up on these is that football is not ever played in a straight line.
That's right.
So a running back running a 4.3 around the corner and a middle linebacker runs a 4.7, if he takes a good angle, he's tackling you.
Yeah, exactly.
So like, you can't put all your stock
Yeah.
in that
And,
is what I'm saying.
and of course, as we are as humans, it's how much is that thing? It's $9.99. That's a pretty good deal. Like a 4.49 is fast. A 4.51 is slow. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's just in our heads, we can't possibly understand. Yeah. $10. That's too much. $9.99.
Yeah.
Pretty good
Oh,
deal.
it's a good deal.
Pretty good
Yeah.
deal. I'll pick two of them up. But let's start with the running backs. The running back class does kind of feel like doo doo butter. After Jeremiah Love, but I think there's probably some salvageable backs here.
Mhm.
I sort of was on JJ Zacharyason's podcast, and my bold prediction was that there'd be the fewest running backs taken in day 1 and 2 that we've had, in, I don't know, 20 years or whatever. I've tracked it about 20 years or something like that. I think that's going to be 3 would need to be. I think 4 would tie it. That'd just be rounds 1, 2, and 3. Well, we certainly know we're
Yeah.
getting Love. I
Mhm.
think I don't mean to spoil this, but Daniel Jeremiah, not Jeremiah Love, Daniel Jeremiah had Jadarian Price going pick 32 to the Seattle Seahawks in the first round. I do think Jadarian Price does not get past the Seahawks twice. So he'll get into the second round at the very least. After that, I'm actually very unsure which of them or any of them get drafted, number one. But I think my
Sure.
question to you is, do you have any of these prospects that for you rise up into sort of maybe we'll call it a tier 2 or a B grade type of thing, that next level down from Jeremiah Love? Is there anybody there for you?
Sure. So I can talk about Price first. I do think 32 might be a little rich for him, but I feel like I need to say this first just to eliminate any my bias and give me some
Yeah.
credibility. Anybody who knows me or follows me on Twitter knows I'm a huge Notre Dame fan, but just as a former player, current coach, like I am always objective because I think that's the only like fair way to treat the game, if that
Right.
makes sense. Like
Yes.
I will never be the guy that's like, oh, Malachi Fields, he's the best man. Like he's like, I'm not the homer to the point where I am super biased in my takes, so
Yeah.
I'll back up my talking about Price with just a lot of, facts and things I've observed. Um, I think there's a narrative about him that he was a backup, where in reality, as somebody who's watched all of his college games, it was much more of a 1A, 1B scenario with him, just the 1A being an amazing player in Jeremiah Love. A lot of his damage was done in close games in the first half. You turn on the Miami game from this past year, the two best runs for Notre Dame the whole game were from him in the first half against Miami. Oftentimes, when they were blowing teams out, it was the third and fourth string running backs playing. So, like his data was not skewed at all by blowouts and Love coming out of the game. I think where he brings value, he has an elite trait in that when he gets through the line of scrimmage, his ability to get lateral and just destroy the angles of the secondary players is crazy.
Yeah.
It almost rivals Jeremiah Love's with he's through the line and he breaks it towards the sideline. He runs by everybody. Like he only ran I say only he ran a 4.49 and people are like, oh, like he's slow, whatnot. But like he runs a 4.49 during the games. Like
Yeah.
there's a reason also he has 300-yard kick return touchdowns
Hmm.
in his career too. Like he has long speed. And he weighed in a little bit, I think lighter than I thought. He was over 200, but not by much. He's good between the tackles. Again, he has that elite ability once he's through the line to get lateral quickly and ruin the angles of linebackers and people in the secondary. The one big concern, and I know you had talked about it, I believe, with John Lobb, was pass game ability.
Yeah.
There's just not much there because he wasn't asked to do it. It's not to say that he can't, but it was never asked of him. So there's really no proof outside of a check down against Arkansas that he took for a touchdown and one or two against Stanford in the game that Jeremiah Love got hurt.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I think he's a tough evaluation because some of the things that we look at are just pass game utility, and he has 15
for
career.
fantasy, especially, yes,
Yeah,
exactly,
he has
yeah,
15 career receptions, and you're like, that's just not good enough. You know what I mean? You're like, wow,
right.
that's really bad. He does have he does have a yards per route run of 1.91 as his best season, which is kind of irrelevant because again, it's 6 catches. So
Mhm.
it doesn't make any sense. There's nothing there that says that he's a receiver. His A dot was minus 2.3, which is of course the furthest into the backfield of any
Right.
running back in the class. So he was not even you couldn't even say, yeah, but listen, it was because Jeremiah Love, when he was used, they did cool stuff with him. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. They didn't.
No,
They did not.
he just ran straight downhill.
Yep.
He's good at it, but I mean, he was never asked to do anything more, which like absolutely is a concern because was he not asked because they didn't need to, or was he not asked to do that because he's not good at it?
Yeah.
And I don't think we have an answer to either of those
That's
questions,
right. And
unfortunately. Yeah.
he has the best 10-yard run rate in the class. And it's a really strong 10-yard run rate. I think only Devon Achan is better in my sort of anatomy database for career 10-yard run rate.
Wow.
Actually,
Okay.
maybe who's that? Jonathan Taylor, of course. Yeah.
Well,
JT.
that's good company
It is.
then.
It's really
Yeah.
good company. It's almost 20%. He was 19.2% career 10-yard run rate. He's the best in the class in a 15-yard run rate as well. So he is a home run threat
Mhm.
his entire career. That 11% 15-yard run rate is also amongst the best in the NFL when they were prospects. So yeah, he is explosive. And so I think I'm warming to the fact that I think for those reasons, because again, I think a team will be drafting Jadarian Price in the first 2 rounds and drafting him
Mhm.
with purpose. Um,
Yes.
I don't know how much he could get used in the pass game, which is a huge question mark. So I'm not necessarily going to steam him, but I think he's going to
Right.
get steamed. I think he will be here's my prediction. I think he's going to be the second running back taken in the NFL draft. And I think for that reason, he's going to get steamed into the mid first round of Superflex rookie drafts, somewhere in and
Mhm.
among the Casey Concepciones, the Omar Coopers, the Kenyon Sadiqs of the world. I think he's going to be that high up. Denzel Boston, right? He's going to be in the
Mhm.
106 to 110, 111 range. And that's going to be a steep price to pay for a back that may not see pass down work.
Sure. No, you're right. And that's where the other conversation comes into play. Like, one, do you like him as a prospect? Is there going to be a role for him? Probably, yes.
Yeah.
But now, do you want to take him over the fifth or sixth best receiver in this class? I don't even know that I would
I don't
as a
know.
big Price fan. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
It's going to
but
remain to be seen. I think if he's in Seattle, but I think here's the thing, like
yeah,
the
that's
price will
tempting.
follow, right? He's going to be probably, if he goes to Seattle at pick 132,
Mhm.
he's going to be probably in conversations for 105, 106 in super. I mean, he's going to be, people are going to really
Es-
like that.
Especially with Charbonnet,
Shelved.
unfortunately for him,
Yep.
tearing his ACL. Yeah. So, like, especially early in the season, like he's going to get a lot of volume.
Yeah. But there's a lot of places he can go where it will be murky because most running back rooms are filled.
Yes.
And it never goes the way we want it. That's all I'll tell you. This draft
Nope.
stuff is so fucking funny because you're like, oh, it'd be
Terrible.
perfect. He could just go right there, and you're like, it never happens. So we've got to be prepared for the chaos of draft night, which is why we watch because we know it's chaos.
Yeah. It's always like, oh, I hope Jadarian Price goes to Seattle. And then it's like Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell is Jalen Warren and Rico Dowdle? It's like,
Yes.
what the hell? What?
Yes.
Like it always
Or
goes that
Kansas
way,
City to
you
go
know?
play behind Ken Walker. You're like, what? Why
Yeah,
would they do that? Like, you just can't even fathom why they would do it, you know? Yeah, you're like, this is the
exactly.
dumbest thing of all time. Yeah, just stupid things happen, and then you don't know what to do about it. But I do think he's probably going to land somewhat nicely within that second round is what I'm predicting. So we'll see. After Jadarian Price and that really kind of sexy profile without the pass catching,
Right.
who's your next back? Is Jadarian your RB2? Like, blind taste test right now?
I think so, and because you said he has the most home run ability,
Yeah.
which I think what teams are searching for now. Like that trait is becoming more valuable, I think, as the running back kind of starts to become more prominent again in the NFL, if you will. So I kind of like doing like groups more, but
Yeah.
if you want me to put like a two, I probably like
Yeah.
him slightly more than the two guys that I have next.
Tell me about him.
Um,
Who do you got next?
yeah, so we go from one duo to the other. So the Notre Dame duo to the Penn State
Hmm.
duo, who I think both of these gentlemen can also carve out NFL roles, and that would be Nick Singleton and Katron Allen.
Yeah.
Um, the weird thing about them is 23 and 24, I was all over Singleton because like he burst on the scene as I think,
Freshman.
yeah,
His
you're like,
freshman
holy
season
shit,
was
who's this guy?
unbelievable. Yes.
Yeah, huge fat. You're like, oh, Penn State found another dude. Like they went from Barkley to
Yep.
Sanders to this guy. And
As a matter
then,
of fact, last draft class, because he was supposed to come out as a junior. After his
yes,
freshman
yeah,
year, he was 2025, class of 2025. Nick Singleton's the RB1
yes,
after his freshman year.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And he deserved it. Like he was an absolute
Yep.
menace. And then he followed it up with another pretty good season. And then this year, and I think part of the reason is because widely renowned is the best, if not one of the best running backs coaches in the country, Jawan Sider, left Penn State to go to Notre Dame. So the
Hmm.
running back coach leaves, and then you see a big drop off to the point where he more or less lost his job to his running mate, Katron
Yeah.
Allen. And, that could, I don't want to have that come off as a negative for Katron because he's a really good player in
Yeah.
his own right.
Yes.
But like it was to the point where the fan base, and if you know anything about the Penn State fan base, they're pretty vocal. They were like, why are we even putting this dude back on the field? Like, put Katron back in there
Yeah.
to a point where it was like shifting to a 60-40 Katron. So that's concerning,
Yes, it's very
to go from
concerning.
those first 2 years where he was a 6'1", 225-pound freak of nature with a one-cut running style and long speed, could catch the ball, really hard to tackle, to like I think I'm not a huge yards per carry guy because I think that's kind of a skewed stat. But for it to drop off for him from 6.6, 6.7 to like under 5 this past year, I don't know. I don't know if it's just because of the running backs coach or what, but I mean, Allen went the other direction. He averaged 6.5 this year.
Yeah.
So it's just an interesting dynamic between those two. But I do think they could both be successful NFL running backs. Again, not to beat a dead horse, but with the right landing spot.
Yeah. I do have a little bit of a take on this as well. And
Oh yeah.
I'm going to give that to you right after this. Be right back. Welcome back to the program here with Marcus Galie. Marcus, we were talking Penn State running backs before the break. Thanks for being here, brother. Yeah, I want to talk about the Katron Allen, Nick Singleton debate. Katron Allen feels like, I'm just going to throw out like some names like Charbonnet, Montgomery, David Montgomery, Zach Charbonnet, just a bigger back, probably, maybe Blake Corum even. Like, not exactly Blake Corum, but more of a technician, gets the yards that's blocked, plays through contact,
Yeah, he's
reliable,
tough.
tough.
Hmm.
Like, just you're like, easy to give this guy the ball. There's
Yeah.
you played. I was a quarterback. There were certain running backs I was like, he's getting 4 right here. I don't know how, but like he's
He's
getting,
230 pounds and
you know,
he doesn't stop his feet ever.
we're
Like
getting
he's
4,
a machine. Yeah,
and
right.
so like maybe he'll get 8, maybe he's getting 4. I don't know how, but so
Mhm.
there's just certain guys, they find the crease, they find it, they put their head, they just are good running back. That's Katron Allen. Like, and
Mhm.
he's a pass catcher too. He does other things. I'm not saying that he's only that. I'm just saying he does that well, and that's why I think he was trusted, especially over Nick Singleton, who sometimes doesn't exactly do that. He'll rip some, but he'll also be inconsistent down to down. And I think that's
Right.
what you're seeing. And so Katron feels safer. Nick Singleton feels like he could be Izzy Abanikanda, or he could be like, I don't know, give me some guy who just rips off big runs in the NFL. He's not Gibbs or anything, but feels like he's got some, some ceiling, but I think he could be a limited runner, when that scares the bejesus out of me.
Yeah, the consistency for him and like his lack of vision sometimes is I think part of the problem with his fall off from sophomore. Is it sophomore to junior or
He
junior to
had an
senior?
amazing no, listen, he had an amazing freshman year, shitty
Yes,
sophomore, an amazing junior year, which is
junior.
crazy, and then, and
Yes.
then an awful senior year. So
Yeah,
it's
it's
really crazy.
but he is gonna be polarizing,
Yeah.
like, he's big and really fast and strong, like, he has a lot of traits to like, but unfortunately, everybody on, defense in the NFL is also really big and really
That's
fast and
right.
really strong, so you need a little bit more technique and skill than just your physical tools at the running back position as well, so I do agree, I do think Katron is safer. Singleton, if he can figure it out, it's funny sometimes we talk about these prospects like they're not 21 and 22 years old, like they don't have the ability to get better.
Yes.
They do. They're still very much kids, for the most part. But
You know what the
I
issue is though, is they have a short window, right? It's
ru-
like,
oh, running backs, absolutely,
well,
yeah.
and just even as
Hmm.
players, I mean, because like, you know, if they don't do something in year one, then next year's draft class comes in, they move on from you, you're buried, you don't do it. It's just, I mean, like I don't even know. Like Sean Tucker was, one of these highly lauded players, and then I think he
Hmm.
had some sort of like, there was like a health issue, like a heart thing or whatever,
Yeah, it was a heart problem
right?
I think at the combine it came up and he dropped in the draft.
Right. So,
Yeah.
so he
Hmm.
he drops in the draft, doesn't go early or whatever, and then it's like, and so then he just sort of becomes not a third round pick, and instead he's a sixth, seventh round pick, whatever he was, and now he's just behind the eight ball. He's just never. Maybe he could have been
Right.
like, you see him play, like he had one of the best games of all, like of the 24 season, was it? Where he just ripped off like three touchdowns, 300
Yeah.
yards, whatever. He won the week. He was RB1. Like he's good, but he's
Hmm.
now playing third string again. It's just like his window just never really got open for him. Like,
Right.
you run the sim, a million times. There's a few times where Sean Tucker's a top 10 dynasty running back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's life unfortunately is about opportunity and timing.
Yep.
Maybe his comes this year. Maybe Kenneth Gainwell pulls a hamstring and Bucky misses time again and he
Gainwell,
has a 4 to
Gainwell is going to be good, huh?
I love Kenny
Dude,
G.
fucking
The
love that
Steelers team voted him MVP this past
dude.
year.
Dude, he's so good.
Who would have thought?
It's so
Yeah,
cool because like the I swear I've been saying for years, like Kenny Gainwell's awesome, but I fear he won't get the playing time he deserves. It's like, you just could have seen this one coming a mile away from the NFL. He was probably a slight bit too early, as a prospect, because we're seeing now they're willing to play lighter backs. The NFL at
yeah,
large, is playing
yes.
lighter backs. Where 15 years ago he didn't play at all. Today he probably played well. He's starting to play more. So yeah, it's just
Mhm.
kind of an interesting thing. Back to the Katron Allen, Nick Singleton. So Nick Singleton, like the numbers are kind of bonkers, but like, yeah, he went 6.8 yards per carry, 4.4, 6.4, 4.5.
Right.
Like that's
That's a
crazy.
huge drop, and even for someone like me, like, I don't love yards per carry because I think it can be skewed, but when it's that drastic, then that's when I'm like, "Oh," like,
What is this?
that's a pretty big yeah, that's a pretty drastic change,
Yeah,
you know?
and I don't. There are other underlying metrics that were also there. Some of his big plays, whatever, but long runs factored in. I mean, he did score 13, 10, 17, and 14 touchdowns, 54 total touchdowns in his career. Like his
Mhm.
his profile is actually the closest one, sort of in a macro sense, to Jeremiyah Love in this class, obviously, because Jadarian Price has some, per attempt, data that's pretty good. Like I
Mhm.
just mentioned, the 15-yard run rate and things like that, but
Right.
his volume and his pass catching is not there.
No.
Whereas, Nick Singleton, twice over 1,000 yards rushing in college, 54 career touchdowns, receptions, big plays in the passing game. So he's done it. So for me, I think Nick Singleton's the one that I think if you're in a position where, first of all, draft capital be damned. I mean, if he goes in the sixth, seventh
Mhm.
round or whatever, of course it's done. I'm thinking Nick Singleton, third, fourth round. I really do think fourth round
I
is the new
agree.
hot spot for running backs. I think we're going to see
Mhm.
probably 5 to 10 running backs very close to the fourth round drafted this year.
There's gonna be it's gonna be a domino effect, I
Yes.
think. Like you said, there's probably not gonna be many taken in the first 3 rounds, and then once that first one goes in round 4, you're gonna see like 7 or 8 of them go, like all within probably 20 picks.
Yeah,
That's what's gonna happen.
right. It's going to be boom,
Yeah.
boom, boom, boom. Um, so I think the way I feel about Nick Singleton is going to be price dependent. I was on
Mhm.
what is it? I was on with Johnny Tuma today, and we were talking
The
about
man.
Cole Payton. He's pretty cool, man. I like him. We were
Yeah.
talking about Cole Payton at the end of the show, and I was like, I'm interested in Cole Payton, and then the show ended, and he was like, wait, why are you interested in Cole Payton? Don't you hate Cole Payton because the college attempts are so low? And I'm like, yeah, they are. I said, and then I was like, well, hold on a minute. I'm assuming he's going to be a third round rookie pick, right?
Mhm.
And I like him there. I said, if somehow or another Cole Payton gets drafted, I don't know, let's just say like late first in the real NFL, somehow stupid, right? And all of a sudden he's a first round rookie pick, then I'm out. You know what I'm saying? It's sort of the price.
So
It's the ADP that
ev
gets me, right?
yeah. So everything is it just assumed I think most of your listeners, because I listen to your stuff a lot, so it's assumed that when you say you like someone, it is at ADP. Like you're
Yes.
not yeah, yeah. So like Cole Payton, yeah, I love him. You're like, oh, you're gonna take him over Mendoza? It's like, what?
No,
No.
yeah.
Like I mean, I love him like where he's going. Yes.
Yes,
Okay. So
currently like
that's
Cole
assumed.
Payton because he's got
Yeah.
crazy upside. If that upside all of a sudden gets factored into cost and we're buying at upside pricing, late for like 1-2 turn Cole Payton, no
No.
thank you. No
Bye
thank
bye.
you.
Yeah.
You
Right.
know,
Right.
2-3 turn Cole Payton, that's actually pretty interesting because you can get that pick pretty easily. And if you're trying to get an upside player at quarterback, that's starting to make some sense to me. Anyway, same type of thing with Nick Singleton for me, which is like, if he stays back end of the second round, I think I'm going to have a lot of Nick Singleton because why
Yeah.
not?
Mhm. Yeah, if you know that there's a chance that he can tap in to what he's shown freshman and junior year in college, you have to take it.
Yeah.
Like the upside is too great to pass at that stage of the
Yeah.
draft.
And the other thing was, it's like, uh, how was I going to say this? It's like Nick Singleton um, the question I would ask about Harold Fannin last year. I said, if you turn over the card and Harold Fannin is a win, he's good. What does that look like, right? Versus if I turn over the card on Mason Taylor, what does that look like? Not as good. And so the same thing with Nick Singleton. If you turn that card over and he ends up actually hitting the Nick Singleton pure outcome, that's a fucking beast. Like that's a crazy dope run.
Yes.
5+ targets a game, pass game, big plays. Holy smokes, look at this kid go. Whereas if you win on, some of these plotters, it's not, it's like, what do you win? Even Katron Allen, like, I think if you win, you get David Montgomery, which is like, that'd be like, if you had David Montgomery's career, it'd be unbelievable. But
Right.
that's not Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm not saying that Nick Singleton's
Mhm.
Jahmyr Gibbs, obviously. I'm just saying the ceiling is much higher. Yeah.
Correct. I agree. Just again because of the home run ability. Like he also returned kicks
Yeah.
too. Like he has juice. That's undeniable, and that's as I mentioned before, a trait that more and more teams are looking for. So like because he has that true big play home run ability, like offensive coordinators are gonna find more value and try to use that to their advantage.
Jonah Coleman looked a little large, a little round to me.
He is round.
He looks fucking
Yeah.
round.
He's a bowling
Yeah,
ball for
he looks a
sure.
little round. I'm not so sure I like this. What do you think?
Um, so the thing about him is one, he's hard to tackle just because of his size. It's not quite the Mike Tolbert extreme, if you remember him,
I
where
sure
he was
do.
like 5'6", 250 or whatever. He's very short and stocky. He's not going to wow you with really any of his traits, but I don't think he's bad at anything. And this is where like the coach aspect of me comes out, and that shit matters in the NFL because he's going to do what is asked of him. Meaning, like, if he goes in, it's like, hey, Jonah, like, your response is to play action, like you're checking and releasing, or someone's blitzing off the edge, like he's your responsibility. He's not going to mess that up to the point where like your quarterback gets killed. And then because you can't trust him, he comes off the field. Like, I think he's solid in pass pro. He's good between the tackles. He can catch, like, he can do enough of everything to where he doesn't necessarily have a weakness, but he's not a superstar anywhere.
Yeah.
So I think it's possible that he gets a role. And like it's kind of like he's not as good as him, I don't think, but it's like Kyron Williams in
Yeah.
a way.
I,
And even as a big Notre Dame fan, like I'm not even a huge
right.
Kyron fan at all, but he's not bad at anything.
Right.
Like he just gets the job done, and there's value in that
Yep.
because how many backs have cycled through, but like McVay trusts him and always goes back to him. Like that matters, having a dependable player, and I think that's what Jonah Coleman is.
Yeah, so Joan, I well said. I think that's right. I think that what I was going to say before you finished, even, and you said it almost better than I could have tried, but is that Jonah Coleman profiles as a kind of do it all type of back. So if he does get an opportunity and someone does elevate him, it could be for a pretty expanded role where he can
Mhm.
do kind of everything. Where it's not going to be like he's just a spot player because he's limited. He doesn't have a high ceiling at any of those things, but doesn't have problem with any of those. That's very well
Right.
said. So yeah, he's
Yeah.
probably one of those players that if an injury does happen in front of him, or if he does somehow that's the thing. There's not very many spots open right now. There's not a ton of spots open for
I agree.
for a non-alpha. So it's going to be kind of interesting. I think that's what's going to suppress some of these running backs is when they get drafted just straight up behind, like Philadelphia takes them or something. You're like, well, what the fuck are you going
Well,
to do about
what's his path to snaps? Yeah,
a
right. It's like,
Saquon
well,
injury or next year? That's it. Yeah,
mhm.
right. But they could do that. That could be like a conceivable landing spot where they're because what they bring in AJ Dillon or something. They could just want someone who they can depend upon. I'm using them as an example, but there are probably a number of places like that. Whether they,
Yeah,
a team like Indianapolis views him as an upgrade over DJ Giddens from last year. Would say I think they tried to buy a backup, and then he wasn't even active on Sundays. So who knows what they
right.
really thought about DJ Giddens, so forth and so on. These types of spots could definitely open up for a Jonah Coleman because they could value him as a straight up, hey, if something happens, we've got a guy who can kind of do it all.
Do everything,
Yep.
and you don't ever have to take him off the field because he can catch and pass pro for third down. So
Yep.
that's where I think he has value to where like if he's a fourth round pick, which sounds right for him, like you're looking at the end of the second, early third, like yeah, I'd give it a shot just because he's gonna do what's asked and might not be elite in anything, but as long as he's on the field, that there's a path to fantasy points.
Absolutely. Which one do I want to do next? Okay, I'm gonna do Emmett Johnson first. So Emmett Johnson, do you know? I don't remember what his. He's just the film guy or something like that. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Oh, Brooks Austin, I love him.
Not
He's
sure if
great.
that's who I don't know his name. That's
He's the Film Guy Network is his
yeah,
like
yeah. He's
channel. Is
and he's
that
super impassioned and he's awesome
Yeah,
at it.
that's him.
Yeah, whatever.
That's
The
him,
best
Brooks
guy
Austin.
ever, right?
He's great.
He's unbelievable.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorite people. And I don't know him. He doesn't know me. He should know me. We should, whatever. He's fantastic, right? He did an Emmett Johnson video that was like very favorable to Emmett Johnson's film. His movement skills, the whole thing. He was like,
Mhm.
this is a real guy. I'm like, oh, I hate the film lords who tell me, believe me, what this guy's going to be good. But I've heard it now a number of times. I'm going to turn on the film. I'm going to go watch him. And if I get Bucky Irving vibes, I'm just telling you, could be a problem for me. But I'm going to ask you, what did you think of Emmett Johnson in general?
Yeah, he's an interesting player because like I watch so much college football, always have, but even now like more than ever. Like I for the love of me, can't picture somebody that he reminds me of that I've watched before in college. Like he's such like an kind of like Harold Fannin, like an
Mm,
unorthodox mover to where he like breaks through the line and then the next thing you know, he's in the open field and you're like, how the hell did he get out of that?
yeah,
And like he doesn't look that fast, but he's running by people and he runs through people. Like he's such an interesting player, but he's a good player and he was super productive
yeah,
last year, but he's not that big and he's not that fast. So he's kind of just, he is what he is. And like the thing is, that's where it gets tough to know if they're going to be able to keep that production at the next level.
yeah,
You know, when there's not a Superman trait, and I know we just talked about Jonah Coleman with that, but Jonah Coleman is like pretty good at everything. I think he's better and bigger than Emmett Johnson, where I think to where that plays to his advantage. But I do like him in general. I like Big Ten running backs because I think that style of play there translates well to the NFL. But to be honest, I had trouble with this one. He's a hard player to evaluate as like a quote unquote film guy.
yeah.
Because I truly can't picture somebody who he reminds me of that I've watched.
You know, I'm just going to tell you that, like, in general, we tend to, in our minds, and listeners at home, I'm telling you, you're doing this every time because I'm gonna prove it to you in just a moment. But we take these players, Emmett Johnson, all these other guys that we just mentioned, Katron Allen, and we tend to go out in our minds to best case scenario. And then when we turn around and look back at the class, we're like, oh no, I don't think I really liked him. But Dylan Sampson, DJ Giddens, Damian Martinez, Jordan James. Look, dude, Rocket
Good college
Sanders,
players.
Taj
Yeah.
Brooks, Jarquez Hunter, I loved. Woody Marks, Kalel Mullings, Jaden
Mhm.
Blue was hot. Go to the class before that. Jalen Wright, Ray Davis, Braylon Allen. Bro,
Yeah.
Audric
Yeah.
Estime. Dude, people
Right.
were telling me Audric Estime was going to be like this
That was
1-2
my
down
guy.
hammer.
Yeah,
Like,
he was a
right,
great player in
just
college. Yeah,
keep
but
going down the,
mhm,
what have those players done in the NFL besides jack squat? Nothing.
I know. I
And
know.
so there's going to be a lot of these players that are they're going to do the same things. You have to be ready for that. And I think that's what I'm not saying he could be Bucky Irving, he could be one of those guys I just mentioned, you know. And what I would say though is in a lot of these cases, if we had all these three classes, the last three classes all in one, I'm not so sure how high we would have some of these guys in consensus across, you know, class to class. And I know that that doesn't necessarily answer the question anyhow, because it still doesn't matter, because I just said you miss your window, you're out of the league, they fill you in with someone new. It still could be that this guy isn't as good, but he still gets more than someone who's better than him. You know, you get my point. Like, it's not
Yeah,
linear. You don't just get what you get. So I do think this class, I'm not as impressed by Emmett Johnson and
right.
some of these guys, but but it's possible, I suppose. I mean, he's a pretty slick little player though, isn't he?
Yeah, he definitely is, but like you said, I mean, you just listed how many guys who were good to very good college running backs, and it just didn't there's not that many spots. Like
Right.
3 receivers are on the field at one time. You got 1 back on the field.
Yep.
You know, like the opportunity shrinks. And I mean, if you just look at last year, like coming out of college, like I think or think whatever, Caleb Johnson was a better prospect than Emmett Johnson. Oh, both Johnsons look
Yeah.
bad. Anyways, Caleb couldn't even get on the field,
Right.
and like he was being taken like mid first round and a lot and
Yeah. Hell yeah.
good player like
Yep.
going to like a run first kind of offense, and he can't even get snaps. And I think he's a better player than Emmett. So like it is tough. Like you said, a lot of people do tend to try to think best case scenario when in reality, more often than not, it is the other side of the
Yeah,
coin.
it sure as hell is. Speaking of someone who I think it might be the other side of the coin, Mike Washington. Look, here's the problem with Mike Washington. The final year at Arkansas, the tape is scintillating. That's the problem, because
I
I
know.
can't tell you it's not. Like, I've seen it, I've watched. I'm like, whew, that's pretty badass. And then he goes
Yeah,
out and runs fast, and he's big, and he looks
he's huge.
fucking dope. It's
No.
I can't help but fall in love. But if you just play it all out and put all the information on the table, you find that there's a lot of ugliness on his
Yeah.
profile.
Yeah, and this is good because like you look at it from a different lens than me because you are more like model analytics data driven than I am. The senior tape is great. Like he'll have some runs where like Jesus God, like how is he moving that fast at that size? But like for the reasons you just said, like how many running backs did you just list that were more productive and better college players than him that they don't even dress?
Yeah.
Like I don't want to say like be fooled by him, but I'll probably have zero shares of
Yeah.
him, unfortunately. Like I would rather take a swing on a Price, either Penn State
Yeah.
back or even Jonah Coleman for the reasons that we've already listed.
And it's going to be interesting too because draft capital always stings us with the running back position. I remember Zach Evans. I always use Zach Evans as the
Yeah,
classic
right.
example of this, where everybody was like, "Dude, this kid's probably RB3 in the class." Everybody pre-draft. There was another one, Jermar Jefferson did this, where we thought he was.
Yeah.
Sean Tucker was another one. Like, there's a litany and a long list of dudes
Mhm.
where we're like, Dylan Sampson. Even last year, was he? Where did he go? No, he
He got third round capital, I
yeah.
think.
There.
Yeah.
Who else though? There's a couple. You get my drift. Like, there's always like you think he's going to go early. That Damian Martinez went 6th round, I think.
Yeah,
I
he
think we
did.
thought he was going to be better than that at one point. I don't know. Every year it happens. Right? Ollie Gordon.
Sixth round pick, and he was the Doak Walker winner. Shit, he was the best college running back in the country
you,
2
you
years
you get
ago.
my drift, right? Like
Yeah.
there's always like the
Mhm.
thing, like I we liked Ollie Gordon pretty okay. We're like, all right, let's go. Maybe Ollie Gordon could be the Nick Singleton type, where he had this ungodly year and then he falls to the 6th round. Like we don't know, and that's going to change everything. That's going to change everything once we get there. So now that we're here, what are the running backs that you think could move up and be the
A couple
surprises, the
sleepers. Okay,
sleepers?
I got 2.
Yeah.
One guy I love, and it's just a matter of if his body allows him to perform, and that's Le'Veon Moss
Mm,
from Texas A&M. Both of the last 2 seasons shortened by injury, but if you watch him play, like he has NFL runs all over his tape. Good size, like he's about 210 pounds, physical, good in the pass game, and he is elite short yardage and goal line. And don't let anybody tell you that that's not a skill because it is. There's a reason that Austin Eckler, the tiniest person on the field at all times, was always on the field on goal to go situations because he had that skill, that knack of being good in short yardage. So that's where I think Le'Veon Moss is like excels at too. Again, it's just like last year was an ankle. I think the year before was a knee. Hasn't played full seasons, which as a running back, being made of quote unquote glass isn't ideal. So that's definitely a concern. But that's a player I really like, and I'll be interested to see where he goes in the draft. And then another player who's probably the smallest running back, but is an absolute mismatch nightmare, and that's Desmond Reed from Pittsburgh,
mm,
University of Pittsburgh. Um, yes, he's very small. He'll be 5'6", probably 180. But when he gets matched up on his pass routes with linebackers, corners, safeties, he torches everybody. And like there's often, and I know the ACC maybe is a little bit like weaker than some of the other Power Four conferences, but there's often times where you turn on a pick game and he's the best player on the field, like offense or defense. So I think even though his size restrictions, he returns punts, which gives him a better chance of making a team. And then also third down passing game. Like he is a weapon. Yes, he's very undersized, but looking for someone who's a
mm.
sleeper who could potentially make some noise. I think there's a chance that he makes a team and could have some value in the pass game.
Yeah. The player that just I will be actually watching and paying attention to where he gets drafted. If he gets drafted, is Jaden Ott. He was for some
Dude,
reason invited to the combine, even though he had like 12 rushing yards this year, like was basically benched. But he was such a good player in his freshman and sophomore, I think 2 years actually, that like it was he was part of the class. Like he was going to be Jaden Ott's
he was that guy.
that guy.
He
crazy.
led the ACC in rushing and then
Right?
disappeared.
It's unbelievable. Yeah,
I've never, as with as much football as I watched, I'm like, where did he go?
it's
And so
unbelievable.
he led it in 22 seasons ago.
Yeah,
And then he played another season at Cal where he was injured like almost the whole year. It's like, okay, that makes
and
sense.
then
Like
this
he's hurt.
past year,
Then he transfers to Oklahoma and you're like, all right, he's going to be back. He's on a better
yeah,
team. And then he was terrible. He never played.
shelved,
So yeah.
shelved. They were like, no, thank you. They were
So
just
I
like,
don't know what
no,
to do
thank
with
you.
that one. Yeah.
But I do have two sleepers, if you want to call them that. I think Adam Randall and Seth McGowan
Mhm.
both kind of give me. Did you hear the Seth McGowan story? Did you hear about this?
No, I don't think so.
So Seth McGowan was like, he. Let me just pull up the years, so I'm at least saying the years right.
He's
Um,
UTSA, right? The Roadrunners.
hold
Is
on.
that where he played?
Hold on. So he played. No, Seth McGowan played. He got recruited to Oklahoma
Okay.
2020 and was fine. He played 8 games in 2020. That was think about that. That was COVID.
Long time
He was
ago.
a freshman COVID.
Yeah.
He goes out there. He runs 6.4 yards per attempt, 15 yards a catch on 13 reception as a true freshman. Gets 571 total yards, 4 touchdowns at Oklahoma in 8 games. That's his freshman year.
Yeah.
Apparently, he got in trouble. Like, him and some dudes, a gang of guys were like stealing something. And like, I don't know if he went to prison for a while or whatever, but like, he like got in like actual trouble and was basically out of football and was like on the couch, like literally trying to get back in after however long. And, you know, played in 24 and 25 at New Mexico State and Kentucky. He's like 24 years old. He's older.
Oh, okay. I got you
Yeah.
now.
So,
Yeah.
like, and he was pretty good in the last 2 years. I mean, not outstanding, but pretty good. I mean, he had 23 and 19 receptions in 24 and 25. 5.4 and then only 4.4 yards per carry. Again, not the end of the world. I mean, it's not the only
Mhm.
stat,
Right.
but he's big and fast. So he came in at 6 foot 23. That's a 30 BMI. Ran a 4.49. That's 110 speed score. Like
Yeah.
that's fine. All that is pretty dope. Like he's got some stuff that you look at and go, he's 1.56 career yards per route run. So like he's a pass game weapon. Um, Pretty good 10-yard run rate, not very good 15-yard run rate, but whatever. Like pretty good. Broken tackles, missed tackles forced. Um, pretty good numbers. Like these are like he's 27% missed tackles forced. Like that's a really good number. Anything over 20 is good. Anything under 20 is bad. Anything over 30 is elite. He's 27%. So, really good stuff for Seth McGowan. There's been
Mhm.
some buzz. And so if he can get fourth, maybe fifth round, capital, I think, the fifth is the new day two almost, because like, it's
Yeah.
just so
Yeah.
they just don't take running backs,
Literally.
you got to shift it down. Like, anyway, that's one. And then the other one is Adam Randall, who's, by the way, 6'3, 232.
He's humongous. Yeah.
Former wide receiver, those things have
Mhm.
been working lately. The Tyrone Tracy's, et cetera, of the world have been kind of coming through at the NFL level, at least to some degree. And so I think he's got a little bit of a shot. If he's maybe a little bit more of like, has some room to grow as an actual running back, maybe gets on the field in pass down situations, and he's a monster and he can run fast. So those are the two guys I like.
Yeah, Randall's definitely intriguing. Like he's not super or he wasn't super impressive on tape at Clemson, but they were
Yeah,
also just bad this year.
sure.
So like and that's very rarely the running back's fault if an offense is bad.
Yeah.
So, take what the offense looked like with a grain of salt. But what you said, like converted wide receiver, good size, good speed, like teams come out in four wides, one back, they spread him out. Like he's a tough cover for a safety or a linebacker. And then, hey, if they got a light box, they motion him back in and he's 230 pounds, running in the box. So, I mean, if he lands in a creative offense where, a coordinator like likes the mismatch capabilities and knows how to use them, that could be like a good late round play for sure. He is definitely getting some more buzz now. you
Yeah, I
bring
mean, if
him
you
up
think about it,
to.
he had 4 rush attempts in 2024. So, like, this year was, like, really his first opportunity as a running back. I mean,
Yeah.
and afforded himself pretty well. As you say, it was, 800 yards, basically almost 5 yards a carry. He had over 1,000 all-purpose yards. He had 36 receptions. Didn't do too much with them, but like, that's certainly, they're looking his way. They played him on all
Mhm.
downs and distances. So I don't know, man. You could do a lot worse in the late rounds, and especially when we're talking about when you turn the card over, what do you get? I mean, as a former wide receiver with a big body, dude, the upside is there for him to play every down and to be involved in the pass game, which is everything I need to know about taking a swing late in rookie drafts.
For sure.
Yeah. There you go.
Always just looking for that ceiling
Yes, sir.
as you get later and later,
Oh my God.
somebody who could get it done.
Okay, so there's like when I think of these running backs, like every year I tell people, and I'm sure you're starting to hear this, and we think, okay, take the top 50 wide receivers, take your wide receivers early in rookie drafts. Don't really target wide receivers in your third, fourth, and fifth round of rookie drafts. I mean, of course, you might have to take one here and there. Obviously, that's where
Mhm.
Puka came out of. I understand it. But generally speaking, those are bad bets. So try not to. Take running backs back there. But I've also been of the opinion that maybe late in this draft, especially this one, where some of the other positions might be a little bit thin, including the running backs and certainly the quarterbacks, maybe you look towards the tight ends. And, later in the tight ends, there's some, who knows, right? I think there's some coin flip tight ends that could actually be top 12 or 15, fantasy tight ends um, back in those rounds. What are your thoughts? Do you kind of see that a little bit with these guys?
I do. There's a handful of guys that are could be every down tight ends. And then now, kind of the way the NFL is shifting to the more like H-ish move tight
Yes.
ends, like the Fannons, the Gadstins. Um, there's another dude that I'm complete even like Jonnu Smith, like players
There's just
like
a lot more
that.
tight ends on the field too. You're absolutely right. I mean, even in the
Yes.
Rams were playing at 13 personnel almost a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So
They're in three tights a
they
lot.
had
Mhm.
a bunch of lunch pails out there.
Yeah. So I definitely think that this is an interesting class because there's some dudes on both ends of the spectrum, like the smaller, more like not as much inline blocking, but route running, receiving threats. And then there's some big dudes who can run
Yeah,
and can also catch the ball and block. So it's an interesting tight end class, and I'm excited to hear what you think about it.
yeah. I'm very interested in some of these tight ends. I'm not singularly interested in any of them like I was Harold Fannin last year. I don't have
Mhm.
one of these. Because I mean, last year it was. I thought Fannin should have been considered at the top. I think I was vindicated there. I mean, he just, he did things that no other tight end has done in college. And people say he played at a small school. It's like, well, other tight ends played at small schools. They didn't do what the hell he did either. So,
Correct.
he just had something special. He ran the duck footed gauntlet, which made him fall in the draft, but whatever. Here, now you have the Sadiq and Stowers, it feels like, at the top. I don't think
Mhm.
that's Warren and Loveland personally, but nonetheless, we'll get there in a moment. But after that, here I think it's more of like I just want to throw the spaghetti against the wall. I'm going to be trying to draft 2, 3, 4 of these guys, and whichever one hits is like fine. When you have third, fourth, and fifth round picks, it's like I only need to get one tight end if I take 3 or 4, right? If I hit
Right.
a Fannin or a Gadsden out of or a Zach Ertz or whatever type of player, I don't give a shit. If I hit one that actually is playable at tight end with 2 or 3 or 4 picks in my third, fourth, and fifth rounds, I've won. If the other 3 or
Yep.
4 I just drop the next year, I'm fine with it. So I think that's more the way that I'm going about it. Maybe that'll change as we get closer, as I get a little bit more familiar with the players, where the NFL certainly tells us what they think with draft capital. But as it stands right now, that's kind of where I'm at. I have some favorites, but they're loosely held. Let's start with Trig. Um, what are your thoughts with Trig, and what can you tell me about him or no?
Yeah, Michael Trigg, he was a fun watch at Baylor, a team who threw the ball a lot. He made a lot of explosive dynamic plays where he
Yeah.
kind of jumps off the screen. You're like, oh shit, wow, like who's number one? Oh, he's a tight end. Jesus. Like
Yeah.
he definitely pops at times. The thing for him is he's a little bit older. I think he's a 23. I don't know when he turns
He's
24
a
year old
50.
senior.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a little bit older. If you care a lot about age, that's going to deter you one way. He does have like some quote unquote off the field issues, which sometimes manifest in effort issues,
Mm,
which is a problem. And like just the most recent guy comes to memory, like a Javon Baker type deal, where
yes.
has all the talent in the world, but between the ears for whatever reason just can't get out of his own way. So for that, that scares me when people have like effort issues.
Yeah.
Because that's something that you can control all the time. So like everybody's talented in the NFL, right? Like you're not going to win with that only anymore like you can against Big 12 defenses. Um, so like he's talented. He makes some really exciting plays, but like I don't know that Michael Trigg is going to let Michael Trigg be the best version of himself in the NFL. And, he definitely scares me more than some of the other players we'll talk about.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. I looked at some of the underlying metrics and they're fine. At first, I was kind of like, I think this might be the guy that I like. Like you say, big plays. I
Mhm.
do look for that mainly because when I look at the anatomy of the top 10 dynasty tight ends, they all make big plays. I said this on the show with Tuma today. It's like if you just look at them, there's no 11-yard per catch tight ends that are top. They didn't do that in college. None of them. Bowers, McBride, Loveland, Warren, Fannin, Laporta, Tucker Kraft, George Kittle, Gadsden, Pitts. None of them. They're
Mhm.
all 13, 12 if they're on the low end, 12 yards per catch or better. All of them. Best season, career, the whole thing. And so there are a couple of players, namely Kenyon Sadiq, who falls below that in this year's class, but
Mhm.
even others, whereas Michael Trigg doesn't. So, it's a little bit of a signal there. And then his target rate. Like, you mentioned there's some issues. I don't know those things, um, but you saw his playing time diminish at Ole Miss, right? And then transfers and got a lot of playing time, in Baylor. But
Mhm.
despite the up and down playing time, still basically a 24% target rate for Michael Trigg for his career and 37 yards per game, which may not sound like a lot, but it's really, really good. The average
That's
of
good.
the
Yeah.
average of the players I just mentioned, the top 10 dynasty is 45. Like it's not like you're not seeing 100 yards a game. So anything near 40 is pretty good. And so for Michael Trigg, that's pretty good. By the way, Kenyon Sadiq 21.2. Don't give me any of that. We're gonna get there. But so Michael Trigg does check some boxes. We'll see where he gets drafted, and that
Mhm.
the draft capital could come out as to whether or not he's an every down 10 and whether or not they think that he's got some character issues. And if he's a little later in the draft, I think that's what they'll be uncovering, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they interview these guys ad nauseum,
Yep.
so they know for the most part, like what they're getting. And I mean, his draft capital will say, I mean, I guess it only takes one team to fall in love with him and
Yeah.
be like, oh, like we can, like, who's the other dude on the Bengals who had, Burton.
Yeah.
Like, look
Yes.
at him. Like it's like, it just makes you not want to draft
I
them
know.
despite the talent. It's just too risky, but I guess like if it's a later pick and he's still sitting there, like
Yeah.
he's a fun watch. Like he makes
Yeah.
plays for sure. And that matters
Let's
definitely.
let's see if I can find one you do like. You ready?
Yeah.
What about Justin Jolly?
I like Justin
There
Jolly.
we go.
He's more of so I kind of talked about the tight ends in two buckets, like more of like the Fannin, Gadsden, like the move guys who they maybe put in motion. They don't use as much like hand in the dirt, like I'm gonna block the defensive end on this play. So he's more of like the move guy. He's like 6'3, 250. I think he's listed at pretty good athletic profile. Um, he's a pretty good route. He's pretty good at most of the route running catching metrics.
Yep.
I would say he was, other than Hollywood Smothers, who's a running back who now transferred to Texas. He'll be in next year's class.
Yeah.
Keep that name in the back of your mind.
Yes.
Good player. But he definitely pops. Like you watch him, you're like, oh, this guy's a problem. Like he oftentimes looks like one of the better, if not the best players on the field. And that shit matters when you're looking at who's going to be the 1% of the 1% to make it to the NFL.
Yeah.
Like oftentimes when somebody is standing out over and over and over again, like that's not an accident. And like if you watch NC State play at all, like he was a guy who often popped, and he's got good enough size to be a willing blocker, which really oftentimes the tight ends block. I think blocking real quick just
Yeah.
gets blown out of proportion because their block oftentimes doesn't really matter that much in the course of a play. Like how often are you watching a Patriots game and you're like, Jesus Christ, Hunter Henry fucked up his block, and
Right.
like it's one of the
Right.
less impactful blocks in the place. I think that gets blown out of proportion, and a lot of blocking I think is just will and want to, anyways,
Yeah. I
which can be
actually
coached.
I've argued that as long as it's good enough to keep you on the field, I'm okay with it, right? And
Right,
so it's when the blocking is so bad that all the coaches know it's so bad and they say, "Oh yeah, he's not in. He's part of a different sub package. He's sub package tight end. He's not
right.
every down tight end." The depth chart is configured to because you can't block, you're off the field. That's all I give a shit about. Because if you're just good enough to be on the field, and maybe you even the running game, like you say, suffers because you're not quite that dynamic. They throw more, so maybe better for you. So I don't really care what it does, other than because even Kittle, we've argued that Kittle's too good a blocker because they're compelled to run
Mhm.
the ball right at him every time because he's gonna fucking destroy whoever's near him. Right. And
Right.
so, like, why would we want to throw it? We just run it. Kittle's killing people. So, look, I'm not suggesting that that's actually a reverse number to look at, but I'm just saying that all I care about is how it portends to you being on or off the field when the
Bingo.
fantasy points are being scored. Um, Jolly, by the way, 6'3", 241 at the combine. I think he was listed a little heavier. That's fine.
Yeah.
He's got some pretty good underlying metrics. I'm not over the moon, but I'm okay with it.
He's got 3 years of good production
Yep.
in the ACC too. 3 years,
Yep.
not just 1 or 2. So, a lot to like, I think, about him.
I think the funniest thing that happened during the during the combine, I admittedly could not pick any of these guys out of a lineup, right? I like if you showed me a picture of him, I'd be like, well, maybe that's him, maybe that's not. I don't know these guys. Like, white,
Yeah.
black, tall, Asian. I have no clue. Like, and so Tanner Koziel during the NFL combine, they put a picture of like this black guy. I think it might have been is Justin Jolly black?
Yeah.
I think they might have put his picture in for Tanner Koziel. And I saw Tanner Koziel and I immediately texted Joe and Trav. I was like, look at this. This is amazing. Because we for sure thought that Tanner Koziel was gonna be a very high lumen white guy, right? And when was not. It was the biggest.
You're probably like, "What the hell is this?"
Was shocked. And so of course they finally fixed it. And Tanner Koziel does look exactly like Tanner Koziel ought to look. Let me just tell you, and not like Justin Jolly. So that was the best code switch I've seen in a long time. So Tanner Koziel code switching on us was pretty brilliant. But Tanner Koziel, kind of. What are your thoughts? I'm just going to leave it open ended. He is a white guy, but other than that, what else do you know about him?
He can play. I like him. 2 really good productive years the past 2 years at Houston.
Yeah,
What I like about him the most is, like, I feel like in the NFL, when everybody's good, you're always looking like, how can somebody be a mismatch?
yeah,
And his length,
mm,
like his arms, they look like octopus tentacles. Like
yeah.
his catch radius is huge. It reminds me of Mike Gesicki.
Yeah.
We just look at him like, God, he's long, and he just
Yes.
plucks the passes like the quarterback throws it 12 yards in front of him. He's like, boop, got it. Like he's long. He's a red zone threat. He can move for being almost 6'7". Like his straight line speed is pretty good. And like if he gets a safety on his back hip and like they throw it to the front pile, like he's not getting around his frame to bat the ball down. Like so that can be a big advantage for him. And I think he moves well enough for his height to where like he could be problematic to cover. And that's exciting when you have it backed with 2 really good years of production at Houston.
Let me tell you some of the things that Tanner Koziel does very well. He is number one in this class in yards per game for his career at 45.6. That's really good.
Mhm.
He's number one in this class in best season target rate at 29%, almost 30, really. It should be 30 because it's
Wow.
29.6. His career target rate is 25%, which is, I think, only behind Eli Stowers. So he's earns targets. His ADOT is fine, 8.1, great. Um, his first downs per route run, which is one of those numbers that we really like, and sort of just in general, he's great there. I think he's again only behind Eli Stowers in the class for career first downs per route run. Um, yards per route run, pretty good numbers, not outstanding. Here's what I don't like. He is dead last in the class in yak per reception, and missed tackles forced. So he's basically a catch and fall down guy. He's
Mhm.
basically last, I think. Yeah, he's dead last in yards per reception, for his career. So all of that stuff kind of congeals. He ran a 4.7 flat, which was fine, especially at his size at 6'6",
Mhm.
247. He's not a
Yeah.
non-athlete, but I don't think there's a ton of upside. He is going to be potentially a target earning, like you say, mismatch nightmare at the next level. If he can block okay and get himself on the field, he's going to have to earn it with volume, I think, right? So
Yeah.
right, because he's not going to make these big plays. I mean,
Correct.
at least he hasn't in college. I don't know what would tell us that he's going to all of a sudden become George Kittle at the next level. So, if they view him wherever he gets drafted as sort of this technician mismatch guy who can play a lot and earn a high percentage of targets when he's running routes, then he's got an out for sure.
Yeah, and I agree with you about the yak. Like he's definitely more of like a true possession tight end, which you can make work in the league. Like there's been quite like Jason Witten, how productive was he? And
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
mean, his last 5 years of his career, like he couldn't make you or me miss. And I have one knee at
Yes.
the moment,
Yeah. He almost gave
So
himself up. You touch him, you'd be like, oh, look, you tackled
yeah,
me. Look at what you
yeah,
did there. Nice
right.
job. Yeah.
So you can make it work. It's a little harder, like to
Yeah.
be explosive and have more fantasy production, but he can run well enough to get down the field.
Yeah.
And like he had a good A dot in
Yes.
college, and so there's definitely a route to success for him. I think he's a pretty fun player, and like if he gets on a team with a pretty accurate quarterback, like I don't know, just pick anyone in the top 10 who can really throw and place the ball.
Yeah.
It's like he could be cooking a little bit,
Yep.
if he gets the
What
opportunity.
about this guy? Was kind of, I missed him at first. Was Eli Raridan,
Mhm.
who I guess tore both ACLs, one year, one the other, or something like that over the course of his career, and
Yeah.
that's sort of stunted his opportunity. Um, have you watched Eli Raridan, and also another 6'6", 245 guy? He did run at the combine, ran a 4.62. That's 110 speed score. We love that.
Mhm.
So big guy run fast. You have me interested. What do you think about Eli Raridan?
Yeah, so he's another Golden Domer. I've watched all of his college games. Similar to Kozel, he's over 6'6", like good size. He's almost 250. He can move. But the thing that I love most about him is he blocks his face off. Like not as good as Kittle, but he's to the point where like more often than not, he was winning his one-on-one reps. And like that was part of the reason Notre Dame was so good at running the ball because yes, their whole O line is great too, but then like you have Raridan on the edge just demolishing people too.
Mm,
So like for that, he's gonna be on the field. He has good hands. I don't know what his yak numbers show, but someone who watched every game, like occasionally he was a tough tackle. He'd be like, oh, like they didn't get him on the ground. He gets like 10 or 15 more yards after the catch. I imagine they're not great, but they're probably not as bad as Kojal's. But
yeah. So
no, that's
actually,
another.
I'll tell you
Yeah, go ahead.
no, I'll answer the question while you're at it. They're pretty good. It's 5.4 yards after, which is fine. I mean, you'd like to see, like the average of the elite anatomy guys is 6.25. The low end of those guys is 5.4. So he's among the sort of the lower end of the elite guys, right? So that's Yak career. His best season 5.8, so he had a pretty good season. But he actually had 20% missed tackles forced per catch, which is really good. That's above the average for the anatomy guys. That's a really good number. There's some players ahead of him. Obviously Sadiq, is a monster.
Mhm.
Trigg
Yeah,
actually was number one in the class, I think, at almost 29%.
that doesn't surprise me.
Right. So
Yeah.
there's a couple guys that certainly do it better, but he was certainly among the guys who do a good job of breaking tackles after the catch. His ADOT was 7.3 for his career, all fine. So he's got some fine numbers. His best season yards per route run, I'm pretty sure it's the only season for the most part, is 2.23, which was great. His career only 1.54. Sounds like he was sort of never really got going with the injuries and just never really made anything
Mhm.
happen early, but then showed sort of this high end. 2.23 is pretty darn good. Now, it'd be a good career number. We'd like to see something high, but he only had really one season to show it. So yards per reception in that season were 15.1. So, you're seeing big plays from this guy down the field. So yeah, if you say he's kind of a monster of a blocker, yeah, he could maybe get a little overdrafted. He could be, who knows, maybe the
Right.
third or fourth tight end off the board
If
in the
yeah,
NFL draft.
if he if he goes in the 4th round, maybe even the 3rd, I wouldn't be super
Yeah,
surprised. And you gotta think too, like, yes, the injuries, but also, and I wouldn't say that I quote unquote helmet scout, but I
yeah,
think it's a data point. Like the tight ends to come, like who was in front of him last season, Mitchell Evans, Carolina Panthers. Before that, you had Michael
yeah,
Mayer, Vegas Raiders. And then the list goes on, like Cole Kmet, Tyler Eifert, if you remember him, Kyle
yes.
Rudolph. Like they churn out tight ends. And like Eli Raridan is just the next in a long list of NFL tight ends from Notre
There
Dame.
we go. I think that's probably right. Look, the NFL does helmet scout. Let me just tell you, they give a shit about that. They really do.
Yeah.
Even if it's just because they know the guy who's the coach. You know what I mean? Like, of course, there's connections. There's all the. Of course,
Mhm.
they do that. It's impossible not to. Next on the list, here we go. Well, we'll go Max Clare first before I go big. Max Clare. Um, I mean, he feels like he should be good and kind of has some really good numbers here. I just don't hear a lot of people talking about him. What are your thoughts? I mean, he seems like just actually pretty good little profile here.
Yeah, uh, I took some heat from my brother-in-law from this one, who's a big Buckeye fan. So when he transferred from Purdue, like his I guess sophomore year at Purdue, he was 3rd team all Big Ten, which is no small feat. That's a really good conference at tight end. And that's when you had like Loveland, like there were some dudes at tight end in the Big Ten that year. So really good sophomore year. He transfers to Ohio State. I'm like, oh, this dude's gonna be a monster, a weapon.
Yeah,
And you're just watching their games and you're like, where, like, I remember I was watching a game with my brother in law. He goes, where's this tight end that you were telling me about all offseason? I was like, dude, I don't know. I don't know if they just don't throw him the ball. Like, and I get Ohio State, like the tight end is never really the feature role because they often have 3 really good wide receivers on the field at one time. Like, I mean, if you're Julian saying, would you rather throw to Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith or
right.
Claire? Like, I'm probably thrown to those guys too. So I get it to a degree, but I do think he can play. He has a lot of good traits to the point where he was a highly sought after transfer. Um, Unfortunately, like as like again, a quote unquote film person, like from what I watched every Ohio State game from last year. I mean, you just didn't see it
Yeah.
turn up much ever. Like I can't even recall a big play he made in a big game or whatnot. He was kind of just a jag, like
Yeah.
just a guy.
It's interesting you say that because he ran 308 routes in his final season at Purdue, 308. He ran 302 routes in 2025 at Ohio State, right? So almost the exact same number of routes. Targets. This is obviously going to be all better in the Purdue year. 74 to 55. Yards, 684 to 448. Yards per reception, 13-4 goes down to 10-4. Touchdowns, 4-2. Like, to your point, right? Like everything just sort of fell off. ADOT even, 8.8, 6.9. right? Like everything, obviously yards per route
Yeah.
run goes from 2.22, which is actually really good. Like if he'd have put up another year, instead it goes down to 1.48. I mean, I'll even give you his PFF receiving grade goes from 85.6 to 66.5. Like nothing really was better at all. Yak 6'6 to 5'2. Like there's nothing that got better, right? It's like it's just
Mhm.
incredible. So yeah, interesting that he kind of cost himself at least potentially some money, certainly in the anatomy's eyes.
Yeah. No, I truthfully, I don't have an answer. Like
Yeah,
I was excited for him coming over to Ohio State as a pseudo fan because, my wife, she's a big Buckeye fan. Like we watch all the games. And
yeah,
I'm just like, dude, I don't have an answer. I
yeah.
don't know where he is. Like
Well, there
I don't
were a
know why
couple
he's not.
games that the Texas game, one catch for 11 yards, the
Yeah. I'm like,
Grambling
dude,
game,
where
one
is
for
this?
11. Yeah, you just see it.
Yeah. I don't
Penn
know.
State, 1 for 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had some
I know.
invisible games for sure. So yeah, he ran 34 routes against Miami, was shut out, 0 targets, 0 catches. So
Like not even looked at.
yeah,
Like that's a problem,
yep, that is a problem.
so.
That is a problem. And you make a great point. Of course, it's Ohio State, and of course, Carnell Tate's running wide open, so you might as well just throw it to Carnell Tate.
I'll throw to that guy, I think. Yeah.
And we have Jeremiah Smith. Holy
Yeah.
smokes, the best player in college football. Cool. There's something there for sure, obviously, but to the degree that he was not targeted and not very good on those targets, also somewhat damning. So yeah. But if you want to talk about a player who was targeted some, John Michael Gillenborg, all-star name, all-star lunch pail, Gillenborg. I mean, you can't really make this shit up. Did you get a chance to watch John Michael Gillenborg, who also is, by the way, another 6'6", 250, basically 6'6", 249, ran a 4.6 flat. That's 113 speed score.
Yeah.
He's got a huge profile. Now, granted, it's a smaller school, so we take it with a
Mhm.
little bit of a grain of salt. But we've seen this before with, whether it's Goddard or, Fannin. It kind of doesn't matter. If you're good, you're good. Is this kid any good?
Um, so the size and speed is great. Those traits are always a good feather to have in your cap, right? The thing for him that worries me is I'm glad you mentioned Dallas Goddard because I actually wrote this down. If you look at Gillenborg, I don't know how to say it.
Sure. However you
Just
like.
if you look at his total receiving yards, he never topped 425.
Yeah.
So the thing, I don't care if you come from like a non-power four school, like a Wyoming. I love I love watching
Yeah.
Mountain West football. Like comes from Mountain West or the FCS, like South Dakota State, or the MAC, like Bowling Green. Like you had Fannin. Let's use these three: Fannin, Goddard, and Tucker Craft.
Yeah.
But if you're coming from those levels to the NFL, like a Genti, even too, if you want to switch positions, like you better be absolutely tearing it up. Like Goddard's final 2 years at South Dakota State, he had 1,100 and 1,200 receiving
Yes.
yards in separate seasons. You look at Tucker Craft, he had over 800. Fannin broke. I don't even have to look it up to tell you that he probably
Right.
had over 1,000 and maybe 20 touchdowns. Like so if you're coming from one of those schools, to me, I need to see more production like on paper than what he showed. I don't doubt that the dude can play, but like for me to pick him coming out of Wyoming over some of these other players, I just wouldn't do it. But that doesn't mean I don't think he has traits that are going to be valued. He has good size, speed, um, but like to not even be like that dude at Wyoming and to think you're going to go to the Green Bay Packers and
Yeah.
turn up on like it's just I won't be taking that bet.
Now, in fairness,
He
Goddard.
was hurt
No,
last
no,
year
but
too.
Goddard was a first round pick, right? So right,
Yeah.
so I'm not saying he's Dallas Goddard, right? Shades
Mhm.
of, and we saw Goddard. Now, Gillenborg. So Dallas Goddard, interestingly enough, ran like less than 100 routes in his freshman, sophomore, and junior season. He ran 368 in his final season. So again, he ran 368. Gillenborg 179, 165, 174 in the last 3 seasons. Like he never got that many routes out. So now,
That's fair. That's absolutely fair.
and
Yes.
by the way, I'm not saying that he performed to the same degree on even on a per route basis, because Goddard was like, I think he was like 3 yards. Let me look him up. He was 2.83 yards per route run for his career. His final season was a 3.00 yards per route run season. Had 1,100 yards on 368 routes. So very, very good, obviously.
Mhm.
And even though, as you say, he only put up 360, 437, and 211, he's still basically 2 yards per route run, 1.96. Not bad. He did have a 2.65 last year. This past year, 1.18. Did you say he got hurt? Is that what you're telling?
Yeah, he missed a good chunk of games, like mid-September, and I think he missed all of October. So
Interesting.
that was limited a little bit,
It's
in
interesting. I
fairness
mean,
to him.
his PFF receiving grade went from 70 to 76 to 85 to 64 in his final season. I think we're probably, if you were Gillenborg's mom, you were hoping for a much better season here this past year.
Mhm.
But I think he's big guy, run fast, and showed some receiving acumen. I don't think he's the player Dallas Goedert or the prospect that Dallas Goedert is at all. Shades of.
Real quick about Dallas Goedert, we almost played him my sophomore year of college when we made the playoffs. We lost by 10 to Villanova in round 1, but they went on. The winner of us played at South Dakota State, and I'll just say that I'm pretty sure Villanova lost that game by 40 plus. So
Wow.
we would have like he was just turning up on everybody. Like it was like no one could tackle him. He's 6'6", 250 pounds, and could scoot.
Who
So he
who did
was an
you
absolute
lost to
mammoth.
Villanova? Wait, let me see if I can find that.
26. I played at St. Francis University. We played 2016 FCS playoffs. We
2016.
played.
Yeah, hold up. I'm looking up.
Uh,
Actually, at 16, he didn't really play though. What
he was like a freshman. He didn't. So 17 is when he
17
like
is when he went
blew up,
nuts.
blew
Yeah,
up. But he was on the team. Like
for
he
sure.
contributed.
Yeah,
Uh
for
huh.
sure, for sure.
So
And
I
that's pretty
would
cool
have
though.
seen him.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, you
Yeah.
would have just gotten your butts kicked, but you maybe, dude. Dallas Goedert did get starched, so maybe if you hit him in the side of the helmet, it would have knocked him out clean. That's all I'll tell you.
He would have taken me for a
Yeah.
ride, Jax. It would
Yeah.
not have been pretty.
Nah, dude, I'm picking you in the hindsight. Never would have happened.
Hell yeah. That's
Yeah,
my
I
guy
got
right
you, baby.
there.
I got you. You were kicking his ass. He probably wouldn't even made the league if you played against him. That's what would
Yeah,
happen.
you know what? You're right. I would have put him in the dirt.
Yep,
You're
in the
right.
dirt, bro. It was over for fucking Goddard. Thank God you lost that game. He should be.
Yeah,
He
right.
should be.
He doesn't know how lucky he had it, man. Yeah.
Exactly. There it is. That's what I'm talking about. All right. Let's go to finish off with we'll finish off with a couple wide receivers real quick. But before we do that, I want to ask you about Sadiq and Stowers, but I'm going to take one last quick little break before we finish this awesome show. Welcome back to the program. Jax Falcone right here with Marcus Galie. And he's about to tell me who is the tight end one in this class. And I feel like I have a hot take, but I don't feel like it's that hot with me saying that Eli Stowers is my tight end one. But Mr. Galie, who is your tight end one? Kenyon Sadiq, Eli Stowers, or someone else, or no one?
Um, it's Eli Stowers, and I think I texted you that actually, and it might have been December. I could pull up the receipt. I was like, "You haven't gotten into it yet, but when you
Mm-hmm.
do," I was like, "Just know that Stowers, you're gonna like Stowers better than Sadiq."
Yep.
And I'm glad. And as someone who doesn't use analytics, not because I don't value them, I just don't know how to
Yeah, yeah,
do
yeah.
it.
You use
Um,
it. You just let other people do it for you, and then you're like, oh, good. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, it's
right.
fine.
I just mooch off of all your
Yes,
hard work.
everything's
But
stolen. Don't worry about it. That's what you're supposed to do.
I am glad that the data reflected what I told you, so I didn't
Yeah,
look like an idiot.
yeah.
But I'm a Stowers guy. I was just from watching him. Their athletic profiles are very similar in terms that they're both complete freaks of nature
Right.
in terms of what they like. No one like you look at Sadiq, he looks like an action
He
figure.
does look
And
like
like
yes,
what
dude.
he ran and jumped, like they're both physical
That's
freaks.
exactly right. Yes,
Yeah, like he looks like he was engineered in a lab.
he does look
But
like an action figure, dude.
my big takeaway, and this is just from watching pretty much all of both of their games, is you often notice Stowers more. And you can't use the argument that neither of them were on, like, you can't blame it on the quarterback. Pavia was a Heisman finalist, and Dante Moore would be taken second overall if he came out. Both of their offenses, I don't even have to look, were probably top 10 in college football. But I found myself asking so many times, like watching a game, I'm like, is Sadiq playing? Like, is he on the field? Like, where is this dude? He's a specimen that they couldn't get the ball. Like, he would make some plays where we're like, oh, like, there he is. Like,
Yes.
there was one last year in the Big Ten championship game against Penn State. He like caught an out route and then jumped over a dude who was standing up and then scored. And you're like, oh, like that. That's why he's so highly touted.
Yeah.
So he has a lot to like, but the too many times you're just like, where is this dude? Like, how is he not getting the ball? And this is gonna sound like a dig, and it's not really even, but I'm gonna say it anyways, because why not? I just can't get like Jonnu Smith out of my mind with him. And like that's gonna sound like hate, but it's really not, because Jonnu had some really productive years, and their size. Jonnu is also looks
Janu
like an
was
action figure.
yes.
Dude,
Yeah. Janu
dude
was
is
awesome.
rocked up,
Yes.
can run. Like, I just, for whatever reason, like that's just the image that I have in my mind of Sadiq, which is fine. Like, that's a good NFL player who's gonna play for a while.
Yeah.
But to take him at where he's getting taken, I don't think it will be me, unfortunately.
It hasn't been me. I've been in a couple of mocks, and in every time I've been twice in mocks now. I haven't done any real drafts because I always wait till after the NFL draft. But I've had the option to take either Stowers or Sadiq, and I've taken Stowers twice over Sadiq in mocks. Um, that's just the way. That's just the way it goes. So I'm with you. By the way, there's no question the show title is Kenyon Sadiq action figure. So just so you know, I mean,
Let's go.
I haven't heard it before. I've been saying, like, when you look at him, it's like that's the words I've been looking for, because he doesn't look real. Like, you're like, what is this thing? Like, this
Dude,
is
he has like, or another thing that one of my college teammates used to say is legs for arms, because his
yes.
arms are just like, you're
What
like,
is
what
going
the hell?
on? Like,
Yeah.
literally, he's and you lest you forget, like, he looks like he's like 175 pound like bodybuilder boxer guy, but that man is
Yes.
6'4", 245 pounds, and looks like that. Like, that is a ridiculous specimen of an athlete. Period. End of story. Like, that is unquestioned. However, what we're gonna get points for is him catching the football. That's what we're gonna get points for.
Um,
He did not do that. It's gonna be Kenyon Sadiq action figure, but it's also gonna be, if there were parentheses, it would be Kenyon Sadiq action figure, parentheses, still tight end too. So
I mean, he is, and I don't know. I just, too often I'm watching Oregon play, and I'm like, where the fuck is this why can't they get him the ball? And to me, that that tells me that it's probably more of a him issue, not an Oregon issue, you
yeah,
know.
there's no doubt. As a matter of fact, Sadiq was outplayed by a tight end on his own roster.
I saw you tweet that. You tweeted this was fucking genius. You tweeted a blind profile, and someone was like, "Who are these?" You were like, "The other Oregon tight end," and I was like, "That's fucking amazing that
Right?
you did
Because I
that."
mean, I didn't even know
Yeah.
that. I was like, someone was like, "Oh, wait till next year," and I was like, "Wait, next year? What's happening next year?" And then I look and I'm like, "Oh, there was another fucking guy on the same team who was almost clearly better as a receiver. Like, he had more, he
Right.
was better at everything. Like, he had 14.7 yards per reception. Like, he was dope. What was his name? Jamari Johnson.
Jamari
15.9.
Johnson. Mhm.
15.9 versus Sadiq's 11. Like, I don't know. I mean, I know it's one sample, but dude was fucking dope. Anyway, I do agree with you. I do. Now here's the question. So I've been beating the Kenyon Sadiq action figure drum for a long period of time. And the thing that I'm going to be known for now is that people are going to think that I don't like Kenyon Sadiq, which is not true. Not true. I liked Noah Fant. I would like Kenyon Sadiq. I just don't think he's what a normal tight end one in a class will look like. I don't think he's one of these needle movers specifically. I think
Mhm.
he's more of a swing upside play that if he hits could be huge, which still is true. If he hits, he's going to be fucking amazing. If he's awesome, he's going to be amazing. It's
Oh
just
yeah.
the target earning and the fact that he hasn't shown to be a refined receiver in an offense that had receivers who made big plays is a very big problem analytically. And so you have to really tell me a story. And I loved that. So go listen to Josh Norris and Hayden Winks. They
Mhm.
break down all these tight ends. They break down a lot of prospects. Just one. It's like the podcast is just on Kenyon Sadiq. It's 15 minutes, and then just on Eli Stowers, 15 minutes. They did both of them. I made a purpose to listen to both of them because I want to make sure that my take follows in line with what reality is. And I think they basically were saying the same thing. They're like, well, he doesn't really do much against zone. He's kind of invisible. And I was like, yeah, there we go. So there's parts of his game that are not there yet, and he's going to need to develop. Well, if you're drafting a developmental tight end, well, what if he doesn't develop? I mean, that's not a guarantee. Not every player just all of a sudden for sure gets better and is awesome.
Yeah, and I would say too, I mean, there's usually a delayed aspect to tight end production in fantasy
True.
anyways. Like
Right.
the people who step right in and turn up right away as a rookie as a tight
It's
end
rare.
are honestly it's few and far between. So like you might pick him if you want to take Sadiq at 106 and tight end premium or whatever,
Yeah.
like be ready for his rookie year him to have 25 catches
Right.
for 210 yards. It might take a while for him to reach the
Yeah.
point where you're like, okay, this is the guy I took in the top 7
Yeah.
of a dynasty draft, rookie draft,
I
you
have
know?
some fears on Stowers. My fear is what I talked about earlier, which is that the run blocking needs to be good enough for him to be viewed
Mhm.
as a guy who's always in the fucking game so he can get a lot of catches, or he needs to be so awesome
Right.
that he's better than any slot receiver on whichever team he's on and is just playing a shit pot of tight end 2, right? The H back, the sort of slot tight end, and is able to get enough from that role.
Yeah, those are legit concerns too. Like just because I said that Stowers is my tight end 1 over Sadiq doesn't mean he's an untouchable prospect. Like Warren and Loveland, in my opinion, are better than him for sure. Like I liked both of those guys last year more than these two this year. Um, But again, I do think blocking is just a lot to do with your willingness and effort to
Yeah.
do so, which I think can be coached.
Yeah.
Like, hey, dude, you're coming across the formation, like you're blocking the backside of this play, like get in his way for a second and a half and he's not making the
Yeah.
tackle.
Let
Like,
him
can
throw
you
you to
do
the
that?
ground when he's done with you.
Like
Yeah.
just delay him in running down the running back from the backside.
Yeah.
And like that, I think he's capable of doing
Sure.
to the point where I don't think he will be such a liability to where they're like, we can't even put you on the field
Yeah.
to run the ball,
And I
you
think
know?
draft capital will spell a bit with that. I mean, because he's clearly now athletic, which is going to get all of the
Yes.
general managers hard. So they're all going to be, it's true. They all draft the athleticism. Athleticism gets you overdrafted. So if for
Hmm.
whatever reason Stowers doesn't get draft capital, that's a big red flag that they view him as a one dimensional player, more like a Gasicki than they do even
Yes.
like a Kincaid or Pitts or better. Playing time of 70%. I think if I listened to the underdog pod and they were saying that he only played like 40% of rundowns at Vanderbilt. Not great
Yeah. I mean, if you can't block
at Vanderbilt,
Kentucky
right?
and South Carolina, you're not blocking TJ Watt and Miles Garrett, you
Right.
know?
Yes.
That's problematic
That's
for sure.
problematic.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm getting at. I mean, sometimes people will bring up Harold Fannin. Harold Fannin had a great PFF run blocking
Oh,
grade.
he blocked his ass off.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I think just because of like the kind of player he was, it was just assumed that he couldn't block. And it was like, oh no, like he gets after dudes in the run Fannin I'm talking
Yeah.
about. Like he gets after dudes in the run game
Yeah,
for
he
sure.
had a hard time of it transitioning to the NFL, which actually makes some sense. But I think
Mhm.
I think we saw enough with Fannin to know. All right, lastly, we're gonna finish the show. We're gonna go. rapid fire, which means it's going to be another 30, 40 minutes. No, I'm joking. Rapid fire discussion on the wide receivers, just the top, maybe a couple sleepers. I don't know, just a little bit of a conversation. But the one thing I wanted to ask you is, you first joined me in this team and doing this because of your background in PT and medical. But with Jordan Tyson, he missed all of 23 with the ACL. Now the hamstring. I mean, sometimes we unfairly, say players are injury prone. I guess I just don't want to draft the guy like this as a rookie and then, be like, what was it? What were you thinking? This guy's always hurt. And then the other side of that is, dude, it's nothing. He was fine. Of course he's dope. There's that two sides that I can hear myself saying. What are your thoughts based off what you know?
Yeah, that's a great question. I wouldn't say that it's nothing, like, because unfortunately, artificial tissue that can be put in on surgery, like an ACL graft, for example. Unfortunately, no matter how good the surgeon is, how good the graft is, it's never as strong as your own tissue. So there always is going to be a higher risk that he could potentially, tear the ACL again.
Mm,
Sometimes you see it, sometimes you don't. Like, I mean, an ACL is such a common surgery now that, I mean, you
yeah.
could go down the list of most NFL teams and probably get 4 or 5 dudes per team who have torn it. And, they've played multiple years after. Like, look at Dalvin Cook. He
Yeah.
played several years after his ACL. That's just, it
Yep.
happens a lot. So, he could be fine, but I mean, now,
There's
like,
more
it's
risk. Yeah.
without a doubt, there's
He's just
definitely
so
more
dope.
risk. I know he is he's sweet.
He's really, really good. I mean, he just strikes me as like, if you told me, oh, hey, did you know there was a Justin Jefferson in this class? I'd be like, there's Jordan Tyson. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
he's the guy that feels like he can play everywhere, outside, inside, X, Y, Z, right? Slot, right? He can just play anywhere on the field, and he's got that perfect body size, that 6'1", 200. Like, everything about the sort of profile says, all purpose skill set.
Okay, so I agree with you, but okay, here's my follow-up question. So because of the injury issues, we'll say, I mean, it's not enough to not make you, like, not wanna touch him with a 10-foot
Right.
pole, but, like, if you like a Mekhi Lemon or a Carnell Tate almost just as much, like, are you sleeping well at night being like, "Okay, like, I'll take Lemon," whereas, I don't have to worry about the laundry list of injuries? And where is the cutoff to where it's like, I will not be taking a Surratt, Cooper, Boston, whomever over him? Like, where's that line,
Yeah,
like,
I feel
if that
like
makes
for
sense?
me, it's actually whether. So for me, if you told me they're all just healthy and they're all going to be fine, I would have it Lemon, Tyson, Tate. Me personally,
Mhm.
Lemon, Tyson, Tate. So I'd take Tyson second wide receiver, and I guess for me, it only becomes down to two questions. Do I want to split the Lemon Tyson? Right. If he's healthy and I know he's healthy, maybe I split that. So in other words, if I have 5 103s or whatever, I take 3 Lemons and two Tates, excuse me, 2 Tysons. Or do I just go Lemon every time? Or do I start to move Tate ahead of Tyson? That's the other thing. So I think they're definitely a tier 3,
Right.
one tier. I think they're going to be the first 3 taken in the NFL draft, unless NFL teams are feeling the way that I'm asking you, and they're asking people with a little bit more intel and insight than you and I, and there's a concern there. And Tyson falls to the late first, early second, or something. He lands where T. Higgins
Mhm.
got drafted, for fuck's sake. I mean, it's not like early second's not like a bad spot, but very easy to imagine
No,
him
not at
going
all.
there. We've seen all sorts of shitty players get drafted ahead of good players before. Trust me, it'll happen again, and it could happen right
It'll
here,
happen.
where right? So it's very possible that
Yeah.
happens to Jordan Tyson. Maybe that suppresses his dynasty value. I don't really know, but I'm just wondering. Maybe it's a little too early to ask, because we're going to get to the draft, and the draft's going to answer some of those questions for us.
I agree. I think, yeah, there are some concerns, but he's such an awesome player that, I'm still probably picking him, and
Hell yeah!
unless more information comes out, but as the time being, like, he's fun. He's gonna be, God willing, he's able to stay healthy. He's gonna be a really good pro, I think.
All right, I'm gonna get you out on this. So I just want to hear your guys. This is your opportunity. This is wide receiver day. You got to have your wide receiver takes on wax. I'm not, just tell me who you like, who you don't like, or what you want to say about the rest of the wide receiver class, or a couple of your biggest takes. Like, let's hear it, man. What do you got?
Okay. I'll start with my guy who I also texted you back in probably December is Denzel Boston.
Yeah.
There's just something that looks different about him when you turn on Washington and watch them play, meaning he just looks like a grown ass man playing against college kids. Like he has one of those traits that a receiver that comes to mind that also has it, just as of recent memory, is DeAndre Hopkins, where
Mm,
when he catches the ball with his hands, like it doesn't move. Like he
right.
catches it away from his body with a dude blanketed on him, and that the ball does not even jiggle in the slide, and you're like, holy
Right.
shit, he has steel traps for hands. And that's with dudes blanketed all over him, two guys on him. He can win vertically, he can catch a ball at the line of scrimmage and get yak. Like he does it all. And I think if you're trying to lump him in to the same bucket as Keon Coleman, I think you're making a big mistake. I really
Mm,
do. I think Boston, just because they're both 6'4" and 200 pounds, like there's more to it than just that. I really like Boston's game, and I think loosely, just some things I've seen analytically, he turned out a little bit better than I think was initially going to be thought. So that
yeah.
makes me feel
Yeah.
even better. I really
I
like
think you're
Denzel
I think
Boston.
you're I think you're teasing the OTC wide receiver model, aren't you?
But we'll never know the truth,
Yeah.
you know.
I think so. Look, I know a lot of the things that are in. I know all the things that are in the wide receiver model, and I was like, I didn't think Denzel Boston would score so well, and he did. So I went back and looked, and I know you really appreciated the tweet I sent today, which was
Mhm.
the I looked. Everybody was saying he's a contested catch merchant, and I think um, some of the people in the know on the wide receiver model were saying, no, dude, he actually doesn't score that bad. And I said, wait a minute, I got to go take a look at this. So I looked at the contested catch percentage, number one, and number two, the catch percentage of contested targets. So in other words, how often are you targeted in a contested catch situation? His was below average, but yet his contested catch percentage was above average. And the only two
Mhm.
players in this class with that profile was Makai Lemon and Denzel Boston. And of the anatomy wide receivers, all the Jamar Chase and all of them, what was it? Justin Jefferson, JSN, and one more.
Yeah.
Oh, Ibuka. Those were the three that did
Yes.
it. So
Yeah.
he was in the bucket with. So of all the players, Nico Collins and Jamar Chase and all these players, the only three that did that were uh, JSN, Ibuka, and what did I say? Jefferson, whatever it was. Yeah, Jefferson,
And
Ibuka,
yeah,
JSN,
Jefferson. Mhm.
and Makai Lemon and Denzel Boston in this class. That's it. So I don't know, man.
He can play, I'm telling
Congratulations.
you. Yeah, yeah, he can play. He's a fun watch. He's if you ever watch a Washington game, he shows up a lot. And yeah, there's some questions about like it took him a while to produce, but I mean, I think that is skewed a little bit too because playing ahead of him for a couple of years were three NFL
Yeah,
receivers on roster too. So I mean, as a freshman coming in, you're not playing over those guys,
yeah.
like that was never going to happen.
Jeremy Bernard
Um,
was there too.
oh shit, he was. You're right.
It was
Uh,
Jeremy Bernard. That room is fucking legendary now. I mean, Jalen
Paul
Cole now got
McMillan,
drafted by the
O'Dunes.
Patriots. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
McMillan. Yeah, yeah. Incredible, incredible stuff.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll go Denzel Boston and then I'll end it with one more.
Okay,
And I think maybe this is slightly rooted in bias because I'm rooting for him on a personal level. And that's Casey Concepcion out of Texas A&M. Um, before I get into like him as a player, I don't know if you saw, he took all the interviews at the combine and then spoke about it after. He has a pretty bad like
stutter.
stuttering
Yes.
issue, speech impediment, and he instead of like choosing not to speak, like for maybe risk of embarrassing himself or just not feeling comfortable. He chose to wear that on his sleeve and be a model for kids growing up who, might not be the best at public speaking, and to be
Oh
like,
yeah,
for lack of a better term, like their poster child. I really respect
me
that.
too.
That's an awesome trait to, when you're in a position of power like that, to use it for the better. Um, like I've already liked him as a player, and like that just makes me root for him as a person.
I'm
So,
in.
I'm rooting for him wherever he could go, to the Browns, the Ravens, anybody in the Steelers division. I'm
Yeah,
still pulling for
yeah.
him.
Maybe not a Bengal at that point. That's
Yeah,
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 yeah, right. But as a player, and I love using this take in general, and that's why I'm such a big Shaheed fan, is not only is he a great receiver, but he's also an All-American special teams returner.
yeah.
And that has value because you're drafting two positions in one player. And
Sure.
when you can only dress 53 on an NFL roster, now you can roster maybe another corner or another O lineman or something, because you get two players out of him.
And it also
Um,
means you're awesome with the ball in your hand, right? I mean,
yeah, oh yeah, he's super dynamic. Like he turned up at NC State as a true freshman. He had a bunch of rushing yards
yeah,
along to go, along with maybe like it was 700 or 800 receiving yards. But he reminds me a lot of Deontay Johnson, like before he kind of went off the wagon.
yeah.
Just a really good separator. Johnson also returned punts. He
Yep.
had a couple punt return touchdowns. Like super excited. I always called him lightning in a bottle. And that's what Concepcion is. And super fun player. If he lands in the right spot, hopefully pick 21 to my Steelers too, because I think he would pair greatly with like those two big outside X receivers, like a Pittman and a Metcalf,
Yeah.
just to work the slot, those underneath routes, and makes a guy miss. He's great with the ball in his hands. I think he provides a lot of upside,
Yeah.
in many different
in,
ways.
in
You
the
can do a
in the
lot with
modern
him.
NFL, you really just want him to sort of in that case, he would be taking the JSN path, which was enter the league. And I said it when JSN entered the league that he was taking the CD Lamb path. CD Lamb entered the league as a slot alongside Michael Gallup and Amari Cooper, and then of
Yeah.
course became the primary number one ball hawk, alpha predator slot demon, just like JSN did, right? So that would give Casey Concepcion that sort of pathway as well. Who knows if he ever gets to the heights of a CD Lamb or a JSN? Not likely, but at least there would be that
Hmm.
path for him to learn the game through the slot where he's very effective. But we talked about on the underground, both him and Omar Cooper have shown the skill and ability to go inside and outside. They're not slot only guys. They
No,
may
not at
be
all.
more slot only
Mhm.
guys at the NFL level potentially, but again, I think that's to start. I think they can both play outside plenty and be able to play, all downs. It's the Jaden Reed versus, what JSN became, right? Can you kind of get past what Jaden Reed has become to the next level?
Yeah, I agree. I didn't even mean to like I just, in my brain, like that's where he might start out, but he can definitely play outside
Absolutely.
too.
No,
He
absolutely.
can do it all.
Yeah.
He's a fun player,
Yep.
for sure.
I'll let you end with the Casey Concepcion. You got my heart, man. I'm ready to have like a real meaningful conversation with you right now, and I don't think that people want that after 2 hours. So we're gonna let them go to bed. We're gonna let you go to bed. Thank you for staying up. You're on the East Coast. This was a nighttime pod. Marcus is starting to get a little woozy. It's like he just got
Yeah,
hit by Dallas Goddard.
what time is it?
Don't tell him.
1:16.
Don't
I don't
tell him.
even I
Don't
don't
tell him.
even care. I could go another 2 hours. This was too great of an opportunity to pass up. I'll catch up on sleep tomorrow after work. I'm not worried about it,
That's a
but
real man, right? That's a
um
real man. That's it.
but thank you again for having me on. Since I started coaching, I haven't had as much time to content create.
Yeah.
I follow more than ever. I just haven't been able to like get stuff out there. Really, the only podcast I do is for my buddies in our home league. It is on Spotify. It's called A Chat with Galie. They love it. They're the ones who keep me coming back. So I will try to maybe get a little more content out there with the OTC umbrella. It is just hard, unfortunately, during the season being a high school coach, but I'm glad we had this
They
time
don't they don't call them
to talk
they
some
don't call them
prospects.
priorities for nothing, brother.
Yeah,
Some things come
right.
before other things, and certainly, bro, I am so jealous. Coaching high school football is the got to be the absolute funnest thing to ever do. I'm sure.
It's so much fun.
Yeah,
It's a blast, especially in Western PA, which
right.
is a great hub for high school football. So
Absolutely, man. Well, God bless you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for doing the show. I know people loved it. People also would probably want us to go another couple hours and just keep talking about prospects. We didn't talk about a single quarterback. We didn't talk about all these wide receivers. We can go on and on.
Right.
People love it. I want to talk all the time. I just can't wait for the draft. So super excited for all that. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much. And on behalf of everybody here at The Undrafted, on behalf of everybody here at OTC, on behalf of the greatest podcast producer to ever walk the earth, even though he's from Philadelphia, Mr. Michael P. is for Pittsburgh. Duncan, you have been joined by Marcus Galie. I am Jax Falcone, and we are out.